Continuing on to colleges in the United States and Cuba, as they may soon create student and faculty exchange programs. This is after the improved diplomatic relations between the two countries. Business students are particularly interested in the program to establish connections for future business ventures. Many admissions offices in the U.S. are exploring methods of recruiting students from the island nation. Experts say educational collaboration may help speed up the reconciliation between Cuba and the U.S. And we are speeding up and we are climbing up, way up. Up next, Japan's tallest peak is installing some technology to make it easier to share a selfie when you're way up there. And if you make it up there, all the way up there, I feel you're allowed to take one. You know what I mean? We'll be back in a bit. Welcome back. Uber is asking a federal court in San Francisco not to categorize a lawsuit against Uber as class action. The ride-sharing company is facing a lawsuit from 3 of its drivers who argue they should be classified as Uber employees rather than independent contractors. They say the company should cover various expenses necessary to be an Uber driver. The company, though, says the plaintiff's lawsuit doesn't reflect the feelings of most Uber drivers. If successfully categorized as a class action suit, it could cover 160,000 drivers in California alone. Well, the apple might not fall far from the tree, but Apple shares do seem to be falling. Apple shares are down more than 10% right now after peaking not that long ago in April. Fred Katayama reports why investors fear the stock sell-off in China could weaken the demand for iPhones.
Apple is suffering its longest losing streak since January, pressured by the plunge in Chinese stocks. Its shares have fallen for 5 straight sessions, and they're down more than 10% from their peak in April, what traders term a correction. They've fallen to a point just above a key technical level that would signal a downtrend if breached. Investors are concerned that the huge 25% fall in Chinese equities since mid-June will sap consumer demand and hurt sales of iPhones. China is a key market because Apple sold more iPhones there than in the U.S. for the first time in the first quarter this year. Pressure also coming from its arch rival. A source says Samsung will move up the launch of its new Galaxy Note phablet to mid-August from its typical September introductions. That would likely put the Galaxy on store shelves ahead of the next iPhone, since Apple usually unveils its new phones in mid-September. Apple seems bullish about sales prospects. The Wall Street Journal reported this week that the company is significantly ramping up initial production of its refreshed phones. Apple shares bouncing back in early trading, reflecting the rebound in the Chinese and U.S. markets Friday.
And we were just talking about Apple. Now we are taking you to Mount Fuji, like the apple, but a whole lot bigger. For the first time, hikers climbing Japan's tallest peak can now share their achievements online. Officials installed 8 Wi-Fi hotspots around Mount Fuji as part of a push to increase tourism. Free Wi-Fi will be available for hikers for 72 hours after the first login. And access information will be distributed in English, Chinese, and Korean. The Wi-Fi, however, will be for more than just posting post-climb selfies. Officials say it will also allow hikers to check the weather and to enhance their safety. The iconic summit attracted 40,000 to 50,000 overseas visitors last year. And a few more stories to go. 1,500 pounds of ticker tape blanketing Manhattan as the city paid tribute to the U.S. women's soccer team with a historic parade. Why this date holds special significance in U.S. soccer history. We're back with that. It was quite the scene in NYC. Thousands of fans crowding the streets to give the U.S. women's soccer team a hero's welcome after their World Cup win. All 23 players made their way through the parade route in style in the first New York City ticker tape parade for a women's sports team ever. U.S. national team coach Jill Ellis said today's giant celebration was fitting for a team worthy of praise.
Number one, thank you to all of our fans that kept with us, believed in us. I'm so proud of this group of women behind us. They are remarkable both on and off the field.
The team passed through New York's so-called Canyon of Heroes, where the likes of Albert Einstein and the Apollo 11 astronauts have been honored, then made their way to City Hall. There, Mayor Bill de Blasio gave each player a key to the city. A U.S. team's World Cup victory is the country's first since 1999, a title that was won on this very day 16 years ago. As One America's Cameron Kramer reports, that win was a major moment in U.S. sports history.
The 2015 U.S. Women's World Cup team scored early and often, holding on to a lead to win the biggest prize in the sport. That U.S. team is the latest, but in terms of thrilling finishes, this may be the greatest. On this day in 1999, the U.S. women were once again on top of the soccer world. The team defeated China 5-4 on penalty kicks after 120 scoreless minutes of action. The team didn't have to look far for motivation. They had over 90,000 fans, the biggest crowd to ever attend a women's sporting event, cheering on American soil. The historic crowd packed the Rose Bowl in Southern California as the U.S. team hoped to avenge a third-place finish in the 1995 World Cup. The American squad was led by veteran midfielder Michelle Akers. The 33-year-old was playing in her final World Cup and was aided by a supporting cast featuring Mia Hamm, Julie Foudy, and Christine Lilly, among others. But in the final game, the U.S. took on an equally imposing Chinese team, led by striker Sun Wen and goalkeeper Gao Hong. While the game was scoreless, the U.S. held China to only 2 shots on goal during the 90-minute regulation period. But overtime was a different story. China nearly ended the game on this corner kick, but Christine Lilly headed away what was sure to be a goal. After overtime, the two sides went to a shootout, where U.S. goalkeeper Brianna Scurry made a diving save to give the Americans the advantage. Later on, with the shootout tied 4-4, it was Brandi Chastain's time to shine with the game on the line. And the celebration was on. In the moment, an overjoyed Chastain ripped off her jersey, and the resulting seconds would prove to be the defining image of the team's victory. The still frame of a victorious Chastain reveling in her team's accomplishment dominated headlines and magazine covers. In 2015, the U.S. is once again World Cup champs, just as they were on this day in 1999. Cameron Kramer, One America News.
In slightly less epic news, it is 7-Eleven's 88th birthday, and the chain is celebrating by offering free Slurpees on Saturday, July 11th, and freebies for the rest of the week. Tomorrow, customers can get a free 12-ounce Slurpee of any flavor you like, but only until supplies last. And for 7 days after, the cookies, Twinkies, and the Big Gulps will also be handed out. But to get the extra freebies, you have to be a member of the 7 Rewards program and have the 7-Eleven app. 7-Eleven open 24 hours for your convenience, and you know what? So are we. And it's all for you. Thank you so much for watching One American News. Happy Friday. I look forward to seeing you Monday. Good night.